It's funny. Most of us spend our entire lives trying to dodge struggle, right? But what if we've got it completely backward? In this explainer, we're going to dive into a pretty powerful idea that failure isn't just some obstacle to get around. It might actually be the greatest teacher you'll ever have. So let's just kick things off with this question right here. I mean, think about it. What if failure wasn't the end of the road? What if it was the road? What if every single time you fell down, it wasn't a sign to quit, but the path itself? Seriously, just letting that sink in can totally change how you look at, well, everything. I mean, it's just human nature, right? We see something hard, and our gut reaction is to, backpedal. We think, oh, this must be the wrong way. But what if that very instinct, that urge to run from the struggle, is the one thing that's actually stopping us from really, truly learning? And that leads us to this really core idea, thinking of failure as an initiation process. Yeah, so instead of seeing it as this final, terrible endpoint, you start to see it as the real beginning of your education. It's the price of admission for mastering anything that's actually worth a damn. Okay, so you see this number, 99 out of 100, and yeah, that can feel a little intense. But here's the thing. The goal isn't to somehow skip those 99 failures. The whole point is to figure out what you do with them, because they're not the exception to the rule. They are the rule. They make up almost the entire learning process. So this is exactly how we start to reframe all those failures. It stops being about losing and starts being what we're calling this initiation process. Think of it as this super critical training ground. It's where you get to find every single way something can go wrong. You're basically building up an immunity. So later on, when the stakes are way higher, those little things can't trip you up. It's kind of like stress testing a system, Imagine an engineer building a new bridge. You wouldn't want to drive over it if they hadn't put it under pressure first to find the weak spots, right? Of course not. And it's the exact same idea for your own skills or plans. The struggle is the pressure. It's what shows you where the cracks are so you can fix them before it actually matters. Okay, so that all sounds great in theory, but how do we actually do it? Well, this isn't just about changing your mindset. There's a practical, repeatable cycle you can use to literally turn those setbacks into fuel for growth. And here it is, the fix and learn cycle, broken down into 4 simple steps. First, you fail. You just hit a wall. But, and this is the key, instead of just giving up, you move to step 2. You actively learn. You dig in and analyze what went wrong. Why did it happen? Then, based on what you just learned, you adjust your sails. You change your approach. And finally, you build a system. All those little lessons you've learned get turned into a solid methodology. You do this over and over, and suddenly you have this incredibly robust system that can handle almost anything. So when you boil it all down, you're really looking at 2 totally different paths you can take. On one side, you have struggle avoidance, and that just leads to bad judgment, stagnation, and plans that fall apart at the first sign of trouble. But on the other side, if you engage with the struggle, if you use that cycle, you get deeper insights, you're constantly learning, and you build these incredibly robust systems that can actually weather the storm. So what's the big prize for all this hard work? What's the ultimate payoff? Well, it's actually much bigger than just reaching a single goal. What we're really talking about here is a fundamental upgrade to your own mind, your mental operating system, if you will. See, this whole process does way more than just teach you a new skill. The struggle itself is the catalyst. It's the thing that actually kicks off these deep root-level updates to your mind, your emotions, the whole shebang. It literally rewires how you think and how you operate in the world. And trust me, that OS update comes with some pretty awesome new features. We're talking about creativity that just flows, motivation that's easier to find. It all starts working together. You start getting answers to those bigger, deeper questions because the struggle has forced your brain to forge new pathways. Your thinking just gets sharper, more polished, more intuitive. And all of this leads to the ultimate transformation. Look, the point isn't to just get good at struggling for the sake of it. The goal is to move through the struggle and come out the other side in a state of empowerment, a state where challenges don't just stop you in your tracks, they actually become the very things that make you stronger. And this quote here really nails it. The answers you're looking for, the really powerful solutions, they're made from this incredible contrast between the struggle itself and, well, not struggling anymore, but being empowered. That's the whole journey right there, from just struggling to actually being empowered. So at the end of the day, the real point here isn't just to nod along and say, oh, that's interesting. It's about actually using this stuff. It's about looking at the challenges ahead of you, not as these terrifying roadblocks, but as your next initiation process. Which, of course, leaves us with one last very important question for you. What struggle are you going to embrace next?